Well, things are certainly hotting up in the championship now, aren't they? It's the second race of the weekend at the Red Bull Ring for the International GTOpen. It's round 5 of the championship in 2023. This is the 60-minute race after racing for 70 minutes yesterday, and the driver change window to come at a slightly different time as well, but 4.3 kilometers in the Styrian Mountains. Yesterday's race was certainly a dramatic affair that turned the championship tables on its head, with the pre-event championship leaders Charlie Fagg and Sam Dehan not scoring any points at all after their McLaren 720S ground to a halt at turn 4 with an electrical failure. But Charlie Fagg has already put things to right by putting it on pole position for this race. My name is Chris Stevens. Alongside me is George Morgan. And George, I am thoroughly looking forward to this one.
It's going to be a tight one, and once again we go back to the story of last season, with that of being an Oregon team and Optimum on the front row. Of course, they were championship competitors last season. Different stakes, so this time around, Charlie Fagg looking, as you so rightly said, Chris, to redeem the issues from yesterday. Of course, DNFing for the first time this season in yesterday's race 1, but back again and sticking it on pole for race 2. The perfect response and the necessary response, and it was orchestrated by that. Or orchestrated, I should say, by Charlie Fagg, sorry, in the red zebra. I do apologise, Charlie. Get my words out, George. Sam Dehan alongside him as well. You can just see they're just prepping before they go racing, obviously, when lights go out. And they're going to be joined by the multicolour Oregon Pirate car.
Yes, and the new championship leaders, Diego Menchaca and Marcos Seebeff Team Motor Park, not having a very smooth qualifying. They think they could have been top 3, but encountered a lot of traffic. They start today's race from 8th. And also still have to take 15 seconds of handicap in the pit stop as well, whereas the pole-sitting car and their main championship rival is handicap-free, essentially. So it's going to be very hard to see past Optimum for the win today if all goes smoothly, especially with the Oregon car alongside them taking 20 seconds of it in the pit stop. This is Reece Barr, another great qualifying for him, and he and Mikael Patamba secured their first ever podium finish in the GTOpen in race 1 yesterday. That very young combination going from strength to strength at the moment. And we have Christopher Haase, the Audi Works driver, on the 3rd row of the grid as well. But for me, George, the star of qualifying was Lewis Proctor in the Greystone GT McLaren, lining up 3rd on the grid overall and on Pro-Am pole. And it's funny, I was talking to them earlier, and it seems like after a shunt in Friday practice at Le Castellet, since they put the car back together, it's been a bit of a rocket ship. So whatever they did, they've found something.
They've done exceptionally well. It was a sensational qualifying performance, and Aaron Walker, who's definitely, I think, a rising star in this kind of racing, has obviously been working hard and has come across to the International GTOpen with the experience that he's garnered, of course, in the realms of GT World Challenge, British GT perhaps as well, and certainly nestling in that vital experience necessary in order to conduct certainly a successful run. Being partnered, obviously, with Anthony Bartone. They, of course, competed yesterday and they made some good moves. Yeah, this time, though, after qualifying the way he did, he sees himself with a great opportunity to take a vital Pro-Am win. Another Pro-Am contest or contender will be this man, Karel Bash, of course, alongside Marcin Jedlinski, as they were last season in the Audi R8, the familiar purple and fluorescent yellow colours that we've come to enjoy and love. And then we have, of course, those of Diego Menchaca and Marcos Seebeff in behind. Currently the championship leaders after yesterday's stellar performance. They now see themselves 11 points up at the top, but with Charlie Fagg and that of Sam Dehan starting on pole position, it's going to be very difficult to see past them. And another good pairing that have improved, certainly over the course of the weekend, Nicolo Schiro and Nicolo Rossi. Nicolo Schiro, one of the undeniable stars of yesterday's race, 2nd in the Pro-Am fight. And he's going to be now taking the helm in the initial stint, with Rossi stepping in afterwards.
Yes, and here's another man who feels like he could have been a lot higher up on the grid were it not for traffic in qualifying. Yannick Mettler, who's 5th among the Pro-Am contenders and 10th overall on the grid. He even thinks he had a shot at pole position as well, outright, and that would have been pretty sensational had he done that. This is the AM pole position for Giorgio Sernagiotto, 11th overall in the AF Corsa Ferrari, one of the 296s, one of the many 296s that we now have on the grid. It's 8 Ferraris that make up part of this 25-car grid, as well as 7 Mercedes, 4 Lamborghinis, 3 McLarens, 2 Audis and 1 Aston Martin. And the grid on the smaller end of the scale compared to what we've seen this season, but no less fierce, no less competitive, and still a very, very healthy grid that we have here in the GTOpen, and championship fights in every single class as well. Going into this weekend, the AM battle was separated by just 2 points between Motorpark's Heiko Neumann and Timo Rumpfkeil, and then AF Corsa's Jean-Claude Sarda and Conrad Grunwald as well. We've talked about the overall championship battle as well. Eddie Cheever and Marco Pulcini starting to take a little bit of a lead in the Pro-Am battle, but things could change in the final few rounds of the season. We are coming up to the tail end. We only have 2 meetings left after this weekend, one at Monza in 2 weeks' time, and then towards the end of October, the championship finale in Barcelona. And no doubt we will see the championship fight go to right down to the wire, as it did last year. And we should be in for a good scrap all the way down to the end of the season. And here we're seeing a great look at the grid, a very colourful, healthy grid as well. The spectators getting ready to see 60 minutes of action. But here's a look back at what happened yesterday as the lights went out. It was an Oregon front row lockout. Maximilian Paul led the way. Fran Reda tried to get his way in on the inside, but he ended up coming a cropper to the Motorpark Mercedes, who quickly found himself in second place. Maximilian Paul led right from the offset, handed over the car to Pierre-Louis Chauvet. Pietro Perolini tried his best to keep some of the cars at bay, but that was Rhys Barr finding his way through into what would eventually be a podium position. Team Motorpark in second place would be after the Optimum McLaren ground to a halt. That was running in second when it eventually did retire. Perolini also ran into trouble. There was a fuel pump problem for them yesterday, and then this was the dramatic moment, an electrical failure causing the championship leaders to retire. But for Maximilian Paul and Pierre-Louis Chauvet, it was back-to-back victories for Team Oregon. And this is what it's done to the championship standings. Diego Mancheca and Marcos Seibert lead the points now by 11 to Sam de Haan and Charlie Fagg. Christopher Hasse and Simon Riker in the East Allen Audi are just 25 back. Pierre-Louis Chauvet and Maximilian Paul, though, now up into 4th after that third win of the season. 34 points back, but the form that they are in, they could well pose a threat in the latter stages of the season, should anything happen to our main contenders. We're about to get underway for race number 2 then. 60 minutes ahead at this Red Bull Ring. And if yesterday's race is anything to go by, then we should be in for a treat. The Optimum car will be on the inside at the start of the race. This is how they line up. It's pole position for Charlie Fagg in the Optimum Motorsport McLaren. Yesterday's pole sitter and race winner, Pierre-Louis Chauvet, starts alongside him. Lewis Proctor has the Pro-Am pole position ahead of Rhys Barr after his first podium yesterday in the SBS Mercedes. Christopher Hasse, the Audi Works driver, lines up 5th ahead of Eddie Cheever, the Pro-Am championship leader for AF Corse and Ferrari. Carol Bash, yesterday's Pro-Am winner, lines up 7th ahead of Diego Menchaca, the new championship leaders for Motorpark. Nicolo Schiro, 2nd yesterday in Pro-Am, 9th on the grid for them today, ahead of Yannick Matler. Then the AM pole position, Giorgio Sernigiotto in 11th overall, ahead of Milos Pavlovic in the Sol Benaldi Lamborghini. Conrad Grunwald in car 61 in 13th, ahead of Aaron Walker in the Get Speed Mercedes. Pietro Perolini lines up 15th, difficult qualifying for him, ahead of the AM championship leader Timo Rumpfkeil in the sister Motorpark car. Niccolo Marinangeli 17th for AF Corse Ferrari, ahead of Adam Osaka in his Get Speed Mercedes. Axel Blom and then Ernst Kirkmeyer, they took the AM win yesterday. What can they do from 20th today? Giuseppe Cipriani was on the podium in class. He lines up 21st. Andy Gilbert will be wanting to make up for that spin from yesterday. Gino Forgione and Jahed Faisal Karim. He ended up in the gravel during qualifying. He lines up 24th. And Stanislav Jedlinski in the Olymp Ferrari 296 lines up at the back of the grid. And the formation lap is underway.
Yeah, they're just getting the tyres warmed up now, obviously very vital. Just a slow getaway from Stanislav Jedlinski. Obviously, Christian Koznowski took the initial stint yesterday. Obviously trying to embed in the new 296 Ferrari that they debuted this weekend. It's its first outing under the Olymp Racing colours in an official championship capacity. And the formation lap, obviously, as always, folks, vital to a preparation for any driver in any racing series, especially with the interchangeable conditions we have had since the start of this morning. Naturally, qualifying vastly different in terms of track temperature. As we said yesterday, of course, it was temperature of around 13 degrees out on track, which then elevated as high between as 30 and 40 degrees. So those drivers are having to compete with various different hardships in many ways, but it certainly is those drivers that are able to contest those figures and bring out the very best in the car that makes all the difference. But as you can see, all nose to tail, nothing separates them. They're going to order themselves out very, very soon, and we'll be underway in race 2.
Yeah, one of the shortest laps of the year, if not the shortest, so it doesn't take long for them to get round, and already we're starting to see them line up in the 2x2 formation. It was Stanislav Jedlinski who ended up with a reprimand yesterday for breaking formation at the start, so that'll be one to watch out for. It's a bit of a no-no. There's a reminder of the championship standings. Diego Menchaca, Marcos Seber separated by 11 points to Sam Dehan and Charlie Fagg. The Optimum team watching on nervously. It seems like the issues on that car have been fixed, but I'm sure there will be nerves jagging to see if they rear their head again. Safety car will peel into the right-hand side into pit lane. Oregon team watching on. They had a front row lockout yesterday and a dominant performance for the 63 crew. They have to take 20 seconds of handicap in the pit stop now as a result of that. It's going to be very hard for them to recover from that, but in the meantime, he and Charlie Fagg will have a clear view into the first corner as we wait for the second race of the weekend in round 5 of the International GTOpen in 2023 to get underway. It's lights out of the Red Bull Ring, and Charlie Fagg leads them away. Lewis Proctor already looks like he's trying to challenge for second place on the inside of Pierre-Louis Chauvet. We saw Fran Reda try to do this yesterday, and once again the Oregon manages to stay ahead. Plenty of cars having to take to the escape road and even to the inside of the first corner to try and avoid carnage. He's on board with Christopher Haase, challenging here the Ferrari in front of him. And that is the car of Eddie Cheever that's managed to jump him off the line. And Cheever now trying to go around the outside of Reese Barr as well. And right off the circuit, he did manage to do so. Plenty of cars taking a inventive line out of turn 3.
Yeah, very adventurous start to this race. Charlie Fagg did what was necessary. Pierre-Louis Chauvet was tested by Lewis Proctor at the start. What a sensational start it was for him, but did lose out to Reese Barr in the latter as well, as we're seeing cars now swooping through slosh goals. A slight we love to see, certainly here around turn 4, as they now make their way through Roche and Berthke. We just saw then as well the AF Corse Ferrari. There is Carol Bash looking to take the long way around with Yannick Mettler alongside him too as they rush through the dust. There on the right-hand side, the gravel trap beckons as Nicolo Schiro takes a dynamic look at turn 7. He's going to try and look to open the door. Can he do it? Not quite, but look at Bash. Prosaic, sensational, looking to go side by side. And also Lewis Proctor and the East Talent Audi.
Yeah, there's Lewis Proctor ended up losing a couple of places here. Eddie Cheever, the man on the move as the Benaldi car goes wide through 9, and Aaron Walker says, thank you very much, I'll get up the inside there. Yeah, Eddie Cheever up into 3rd place. Fantastic start for him. Reese Barr in 4th. Haas has jumped Proctor in all that as well, and Carol Bash is having a look at the young Scotsman as well. But Charlie Fagg already leads by 1 second at the end of the first lap. That's Yannick Mettler trying to get around the outside there of, I think it was the Benaldi car. Back on board again with Christopher Haase here in 5th place. Looking at the back of Reese Barr into turn 3, and a much wider line there as we see Carol Bash getting up the inside. Haase runs out wide as Bash makes the place on Lewis Proctor. Still a few cars feeling the need to take to the escape road. That was the Steve Janssen Axel Blom Mercedes doing so as well. The bright green gets speed as Haase looks up the inside here of Reese Barr, and no way through into turn 4.
Tell you what, big fights happening all across the field as the cars look to find their positions after the opening laps. And naturally now Reese Barr still under some serious pressure here from Christopher Haase. Sergio Giotto, his car is currently chasing after fellow AF Corse stablemate Conrad Grunwald. Carol Bash getting ahead of Lewis Proctor as well, who's sort of struggling since the start of this. Obviously harnessed some great speed in qualifying as we now see the cars once again rumbling over turn 7 and into the gravel. Nicolo Schiro, who we're currently riding on board with, currently giving chase to Yannick Mettler in front of him. But yeah, great start from Eddie Cheever. Of course, it was Lewis Proctor who was the pro-am man leader after the opening lap, obviously qualifying the highest of that category. But since then, Eddie Cheever has stepped up, and he's 4/10 away from Pierre-Louis Chauvet.
Yeah, he fancies second place, doesn't he? Fastest lap of the race, unsurprisingly, from Charlie Fagg. The lead gap now 1.2 as he puts in a 1 minute 30.98 on the second lap of the race. And going for a spin there is Aaron Walker. That is not the first time that car has been facing the wrong way at the first corner, because his teammate Anthony Bartone did the same in qualifying yesterday. But yeah, for the 17-year-old Brit Aaron Walker, that is a real disaster. And look, Hassa again taking to the runoff area, and now has that given him some momentum down the straight in his bid to pass Reece Barr? I think it has, because he's drawn very well clear now, and he's a car length ahead by the time they get to the braking zone. And look at Carol Bash steaming right round the outside.
Yeah, Carol Bash once again showing what he is capable of, getting past Reece Barr at this point. It's going to be a tale of two Audis as they now look to sprint away, heading through the double left-handers. This was the moment here for Aaron Walker. Of course, we saw Anthony Bartone pivot the car at this very portion of the circuit only, a day or so ago in qualifying, of course. But again, this time they're facing the wrong way, and they've lost positions as a consequence as well. Big shame for Aaron Walker. He looked so quick this morning.
Yeah, signing up 14th on the grid. It even looks like an identical mistake here, where he's taken too much curb at the apex of the first corner, and that's spun it round. Yeah, he'll be beating himself up about that one, but he's got it going again. Green flags now waving at the first corner. So as far as these guys are concerned, nothing's really happened. Now look at this, Reece Barr coming under more pressure as Lewis Proctor gets up the inside into the first corner, getting very, very tight as Reece Barr takes to the escape road. And there's the championship leader, Diego Menchaca, in 8th place there, looking to capitalise on this, because he knows his main championship rival is leading this race and pulling clear. And now look at this, two Audis going to go side by side into turn 3 here. Carol Bash on the inside. Has Hassa taken the track and the exit of turn 3 once this race? I don't think he has.
Well, coming together out of Remus again, Hassa has certainly struggled, I think, because obviously he had a bit of a battle with Reece Barr at that same section, was forced out wide on that occasion. Carol Bash forcing him to do exactly the same, as Bash favours that longer extension through Sloshgold to give himself better speed on the outset, heading through turn 5, and now through turn 6. Carol Bash, outside line, he's going to try it heading through the Roche curve, but not quite able to pull it off, but still chasing the tail of that of Christopher Hassa. And I get the feeling that this fight is far from over. Another fight that's currently commencing as well is between that of Diego Menchaca and Reece Barr. Yannick Mettler watching in behind. Super move there from Menchaca, who moves ahead. Enter Yannick Mettler, and he's not alone either, as we're seeing them all come now, cascading through the ring corner. Nicolo Schiro also part of this. Massive moment through this section.
Reece Barr's got a problem, I think. He's been eaten up left, right and centre. He's lost how many positions on this one lap alone? So it doesn't seem like all is well aboard that number 20 SPS Mercedes. Still feeling like he could defend into the first corner though, but yeah, real struggles in the early stages of this race for Reece Barr after what was such a great qualifying this morning and a great day from the team yesterday with their first podium finish. Leaders now coming through turn 3, still Carol Bash looking at the sister Audi of Christopher Hassa. I'm sure he'll be feeling great about trying to pass an Audi Works driver. As now, look at this, the AM class leaders starting to come through on Reece Barr as well. Incidentally, Conrad Grunewald has taken the lead in that class as well, as Carol Bash once again has a look at the outside of Christopher Hassa into turn 4. Much tighter line on exit for the Polish driver, but still no way through, despite looking every which way on the other side of that Audi R8 in front of him.
Yeah, still, once again, they come together, the two Audis, and it's stellar to see, because this is exactly what the Audi R8s are capable of, and Carol Bash dipping in a little deep, heading out of turn 7 as well. You've got in behind as well, the Proctor team, not too far behind either, as we're now seeing Reece Barr, who's now coming under pressure still. More to come, I'm sure, for him. Plenty of squabbles to be had as they venture down through the Red Bull Mobile curve. Charlie Fagg, though, with the deficit now 1.4, hasn't stretched out too far. Pierre-Louis Chauvet still keeping some sort of tabs on it, 1.5, but Eddie Cheever by far one of the most impressive, of course, former winner in the GT World Challenge Sprint, and has done successfully in that series as well. Karel Basch also looking very prominent here against Christopher Haase. Might try his luck here, coming up towards Remus corner now. The emblazoned fluorescent yellow mixed up with the purple is going to look to try and go side by side. Defensive manoeuvre there from Christopher Haase. Karel Basch sticking to his line, heading through towards turn 3. The outset, the speed could be plentiful again. Haase running wide at Remus. Now this could open the door here for Karel Basch at Slosh Gold. He's tried it a couple of times to go the long way round. Will he try and tuck inside? I think Christopher Haase is going to try and cover off that access. Round the outside now, Christopher Haase tries to defend it as Karel Basch looks for it on the extent, should we say, the extent now, turn 4 in towards turn 5. Will he have the side-by-side heading through towards the Roche curve? No, Haase shuts the door immediately.
Well, if there's one thing Christopher Haase knows how to do, it's defend, and he's displaying that very well at the moment as well. Audi Works driver over 10 years, of course, and that program in some ways coming to an end. We'll see what happens to the drivers at the end of the year, but Christopher Haase may well be shopping for a seat elsewhere, as this battle for second place is starting to hot up as well. Charlie Fagg, 1.9 seconds to the good now, but it's only 4/10 separating Chauvet from Cheever for second place. So despite the Pro Lamborghini and the Pro Am Ferrari, Cheever mounting the pressure on Chauvet here in the early stages of the race. Of course, when the pros are in the Pro-Am cars, they can really mix it up with the overall leaders, and Cheever's doing exactly that at the moment.
Yeah, Eddie Cheever is a very, very good quality driver and has done it time and time again. Again, Haase going defensive through turn 3 as we take a look at the battle for second place overall. Cheever rumbling over the curve there. As you can see, Lewis Proctor coming out as well. There's Diego Menchaca, who's had a very good steady race so far, ahead of Nicolo Schiro, as we saw that battle brewing earlier on too. There we see Karel Basch swapping all over the back of Christopher Haase. Cheever staying in behind that of Chauvet for P2 as they enter turn 4. Still Haase remaining in 4th place. He's basically positioning the car in all the right places, exactly where he needs to put it. Karel Basch left frustrated. Obviously, you can imagine with his utilization of his own power, his presence, his pace, he knows he can stretch this car further, but Haase denying him at every turn.
And he also knows that in terms of his Pro-Am battle as well, Eddie Cheever is further up the road, and of course he wants to hand the car over to his teammate in the best position possible. So we're seeing two battles playing out here between Pro and Pro-Am cars. Chauvet leads Cheever back over the line. The lead gap growing by another half a second on that previous lap. It's now 2.5 as they go over the line. 50 minutes left on the clock, and still another 13 minutes until the driver change window opens. As we see, Cheever still just sitting in the slipstream of that Lamborghini, and the Lamborghini seemingly doing very well in a straight line this weekend, despite the seemingly an advantage that the turbo cars would have at this altitude, which of course the Ferrari is now. It's a twin-turbo V6 rather than the naturally aspirated V8 that we saw in the 488 previous generation GT3 car. Heading up towards turn 4 once again. Looks like nothing doing in either of these battles, and actually now that Haase and Basch have stopped knocking 7 bells out of each other, they're closing in on that battle for second.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's an impressive turn of foot here from that of Eddie Cheever. I mean, I alluded to his championship successes as well. Historically, they have been sensational. 2020, yeah, GT World Challenge, Endurance Sprint Cup, Pro-Am, 3 wins, 5 poles, 8 podiums. It granted him the championship that year, and did it in great style, as you can so rightly hear as well. Heading down now in towards the in-swinger at Rindt Corner. Of course, now it's all down to that of Pierre-Louis Chauvet. Special attack heading down the inside out of turn 3. Could not quite unlock the door, but that might rattle Cheever a little bit.
Yeah, the Ferrari still able to get the good drive with the higher line out of turn 3. There's now still looking up the inside into turn 4. Haase goes for that wider line and tries to get the drive out of the corner. There's race leader. He is still there, don't worry. Now Haase having to defend from Basch again after that failed attempt. Oh, Chauvet looking a little wide there. Chiva was on a much tighter line. Surely Chiva's going to find his way through sooner rather than later. The pressure that Pierre-Louis Chauvet is soaking up at the moment is sensational as they head towards the last couple of quarters now over the crest of the hill, the Jochen-Rindt curve, the penultimate corner. And then don't do track limits at either point here, either on the entry or on the exit, because race control has been hot on the driver's heels about that all weekend long.
Yeah, you can clearly see how much Arthur is pushing. Yes, in comes Carol Bash now. Tight inside line in towards turn 1. Very tricky space to do it, but Carol Bash has the tiger line. Arthur saying no, though. Comes straight back at him out of turn 1. They're going to go side by side up towards turn 3 as they now rise up through towards that apex of the corner, 90 degrees and more. You're turning back on yourself, but Bash will have the tiger line heading through towards the right-hander. He'll have the braking zone. He'll have the method, the way through, but Haase with a switchback. Very, very smart indeed. Chiva also on the tail of Pierre-Louis Chauvet. It's kicking off here with 45 minutes and more still to go.
And two Audis side by side here, so no performance advantage either way, but Haase's got that side draft almost, coming back up the inside into turn 4. Still they are side by side. This battle for 4th place absolutely thrilling at the moment. Carol Bash will have the line into the next left-hander, and he's not leaving him much space at all on the outside of the circuit, and he finally consolidates that move, but he had to work very, very hard for it.
He certainly did, and it's great to see these two doing battle, both, as we said, in the Audi R8. A pleasure to watch, a treat to watch here at Red Bull Ring. Charlie Fagg in a world of his own, enjoying the clean air, and I'm sure you'll be looking to take it all the way until the driver change window opens up. And in will step Sam Dahan, who of course brought the car home to victory at Paul Ricard as well. Had a very harem-scarum moment though with the man in P2, Pierre-Louis Chauvet, who would go on then to take his own victory yesterday here at the Red Bull Ring. Spielberg certainly was a light with the sound and the looks of an Oregon Team Lamborghini, which is now facing constant scrutiny from one Eddie Chiva. The AF Corsa Ferrari, of course, synonymous with the world of endurance racing, and certainly with that of Ferrari. Amato Ferrari, the team boss, I'm sure will enjoy the looks of this, as now we're seeing Eddie Chiva looking to the outside again, taking that wider line through turn 3 that he loves so much. He's going to look to try and generate the pace to head out of turn 3 to perhaps open up the door, heading down towards Slosh Gold. If there's ever a time to do it, Eddie, it's now. Heading down now through towards turn 4 indeed. Will he choose to plumb for the inside? Has a little look, still can't quite find the access, but he's going to try and hang it out. But the problem you've got is Carol Bash. If he could trade too far, Carol Bash, the pole, the dynamic Olymp driver, is certainly going to give it all, and he's going to try and influence his way past that of Eddie Chiva.
Carol Bash doing a sensational job in that, and so now he's caught up to the Pro-Am leader as well in very short time as well. We had a brief yellow flag out at turn 1 just now, but that's been very quickly rescinded. So Chauvet has got the Pro-Am lead battle happening right in his mirrors. Carol Bash will be trying to find his way through on Chiva sooner rather than later. He's already made a very aggressive start to this race. And now this is Pietro Perolini and the Steve Jans and Axel Blom Get Speed Mercedes. There was a message up on our timing screen saying that the Car 19 team manager has to report to race control. That might be why. Look at this now, Chiva with the extension at turn 1, able to draw alongside Pierre-Louis Chauvet here. He'll be on the wrong line though for turn 3, so he's going to have to brake very, very deep if he wants to take this place here on the outside line. And Eddie Chiva, can he secure 2nd place here? Yes, he can. And Chauvet, this could well open the floodgates, because Carol Bash is coming through as well for 3rd place as well. He'll have the line into the next right-hander, and suddenly Chauvet has lost 2 places in 1 corner. Yeah,
had a very unsettled run, I think, through turn 1, and it opened the door for Eddie Chiva, who was able to essentially grab it straight away. Carol Bash was on hand, ever the opportunist, and he doesn't even need it. He can forge his own opportunities, but he's now up again and sees himself now into 3rd place. Carol Bash holding on to that placement. We're looking in behind as well. Christopher Haase watching all this unfold. He might too fancy a pop here at Pierre-Louis Chauvet. He's having a cleaner run as well out of turn 7. Chauvet is fraternised with that gravel.
Sorry, George, car 27, Eddie Cheever, must give back the place to car 63 for overtaking off the track. So we saw him extend at turn 1. The problem is they've got Carol Bash in between them, and they might well have Haase between them as well. So what is Eddie Cheever going to do here?
And look who's entered the fold again. Lewis Proctor, he's back. He's now making his way through towards turn 1. And certainly the Greystone GT McLaren looking to try and open his own doors here as they now venture through turn 1 again. Haase just venturing a little too wide, but it hasn't hindered his pace heading out of turn 1, and that is the ruling as it suggests above as well, folks. The position needs to be given back to Pierre-Louis Chauvet, but he's got bigger things to worry about because Haase now looks around the outside at turn 3. Remus alight now with the sight of an Audi and a Lamborghini. Haase out wide again, not the first time we've seen it. Returns to the track, goes ahead of Pierre-Louis Chauvet, but don't forget, he still needs that position back here. There's 2 cars between them now.
Well, now I wonder what they're going to say about that, because that looked very similar. Proctor now gets up the inside. Chauvet going backwards really, really fast here. And now championship leader Diego Menchaca has arrived on the scene as well. So this is disaster for Eddie Cheever, because now he's got to lose 1, 2, 3, 4 positions to avoid a penalty here. At this point, I think they might just take the penalty and go. So Cheever's still second for now, and Chauvet falling right down the order, down to 6th place now with Menchaca on his tail. It's been a pretty hectic start to this race, hasn't it, George?
I was about to say a contrasting one from yesterday in a sense that we had all the action towards the end of race 1. It's all decided to come out straight out of the blocks, which is a pleasure to see. But now we're seeing the cars head down towards turn 1 again. Lewis Proctor, what a recovery. He's on his way back. 5th place, chasing after that of Christopher Haase as they head through towards turn 1. In behind, you've got Pierre-Louis Chauvet, who still needs to have his place given back to him. Of course, I'd imagine that Eddie Cheever, just see there, the white flag's being flashed as well, and saw the lights, and Cheever's aware of it. He's being warned here and advised, give the position back. But the problem is, we've got the other cars, and look, there's another Olymp car in the mix.
Jedlinski being lapped.
Stanislav getting lapped there, heading through turn 3.
And already last warnings being given for track limits, and we're only 20 minutes into this race. So that's Stanislav Jedlinski getting out of the way of the leaders there. And, of course, we saw him slow away on the formation lap, but getting out of the way, and suddenly this pack of cars has sort of separated a little bit. Still, Cheever is not yielding the position. We're on board with the Kessel Racing Ferrari that is currently 4th in the Pro-Am class. Looking at the back of Menchaca's Motorpark Mercedes here. This car finished 2nd yesterday. Now we had again another brief yellow flag, this time at turn 10, the final corner. And I almost wonder if that was something to do with one of our lead cars. This is why we can just see it out the commentary box window. The Street Art Aston Martin has ground to a halt on the pit straight. We're about to see it on the TV pictures. There it is, and that could well be a safety car right as the driver change window is about to open. And now this is why it stopped. A spin here for Jahid Faisal Kareem. And now he's parked up next to the pit wall. So I'm not sure if there's I would assume there's some sort of issue that maybe helped incur that spin at the final corner as well. So no...
yellow flags.
Yeah, yellow flags are out, but no sign of the safety car just yet. 2 minutes away from the driver change window opening, and still it is Eddie Cheever in 2nd place, not yielding that position. 5 seconds behind our race leader, Charlie Fagg.
Yeah, marshals are standing by, folks. We're just waiting to see what is decided in terms of the safety car as to whether they do opt to bring it out. Yellow flags being waved, so we can see on the home straight here as well. The cars, though, still under green conditions in terms of the actual race in itself. And then we can see Diego Menchaca just trying to close up on Pierre-Louis Chauvet. And through now towards turn 7, Carol Bash, who's had a fabulous start to his race. Now, there's the confirmation. Safety car is now being released, and therefore we will see the grid now conform in behind that of the pace car. As there you can see on your TV screens now, folks, the Street Art Aston Martin still stricken here. Their team watching on pensively, but obviously I cannot see them getting it back going again, though I could be proven wrong, because we saw Pietro Pirolini having the fuel issue yesterday, which he managed to get restarted.
Yes, and of course the pit stop window will now be postponed because you're not allowed to come in under the safety car for a driver change. So that has eradicated Charlie Fagg's 5-second advantage, and will put Chiva right on his bumper. I wonder if
They did get it rolling briefly. He's trying.
It's spluttering into life, isn't it? But
it moved a bit. Moved all of a meter.
They may well use this opportunity to try and sort out the Chiva situation as well under the safety car. And now this is going to totally change the dynamic of this race, because suddenly the second drivers are going to have a much shorter stint than they anticipated.
The complication, though, around this Chiva and this whole Chiva situation is the fact you've still got the cars there, not to mention 3 now if you include Lewis Proctor.
Yeah.
And obviously they're going to probably have a claim to obviously suggest, well, we made those overtakes, and naturally,
well, they'll just have to drop Chiva in behind all of them.
Well, that's it. So it's a big loss for Eddie Chiva in all of that.
Yeah.
So,
oh yeah, massive loss. As we can see out the window now, the marshals attending to the Street Art Aston Martin, now pushing it out of the way. This would be a good opportunity to thank the marshals for their work, because we cannot go racing without them, and the men and women in orange doing a sterling job, and they're about to push that car through one of the access roads, the little gap in the pit wall, and get it into pit lane and out of harm's way. So we see the safety car train being led around the final couple of corners now.
Yeah, we shouldn't be too long under safety car ruling, I would have thought. The car is now safely in the pit lane, and the yellow flags will continue to raise while the marshals finish up. The doors are now shut leading to the circuit, so very soon I'm sure they'll be prompted, and the safety car will eventually come straight back in. So I can't imagine it staying out for too much longer.
No. Just a quick check on the standings then while we're under safety car conditions. Charlie Fagg leads Eddie Chiva and Carol Bash, and that is also the first and second in the Pro-Am battle as well. Conrad Grunewald and Giorgio Sernigiotto in 10th and 11th overall. Are line astern in the Am battle as well. So we have 2 AF Corsa Ferraris gunning it out there. Elsewhere, it's fairly status quo. We haven't seen Yannick Mettler make up any sort of ground. Safety car in this lap, confirmation. And now more last warnings going out, including to our championship leader as well, the Motor Park number 17. So that's definitely one to look out for. Reese Barr, we saw him sort of tumbling down the order. He's down in 13th at the moment. And so he has stayed out, and whatever problems, if indeed there were any problems on that car, seem to have abated themselves for now. But yeah, it was Fagg from Chiva from Bash, and Haase, Proctor, Chauvet down in 6th after losing quite a few places in a very short amount of time. And Chaka behind him, championship leader. And of course, with this result, at the moment, I believe Motor Park would still hold on to the championship lead. In fact, they would be level on points again if it were to end the way it is now.
Yeah, and it would throw up a very interesting complexion in terms of the championship still. Again, goes to show the championship fight and how it tends to erupt, certainly where it comes to international GTOpen competition as they head through.
Fagg's gone already. Yeah. He's gone really early, so we're back green again at the Red Bull Ring, and Charlie Fagg has left them for dust on this safety car restart. We'll see what the gap is when they come over the timing line, but caught Chiva napping, and it is already 1.2 seconds when they go over the timing line. But Chiva now has got to concentrate more on what's happening with Carol Bash behind him, because that is for the Pro-Am lead as we're back green once again.
Yeah, pedal to the metal, certainly for the second time in this race now, when Charlie Fagg still takes them up towards turn 3 as Eddie Chiva now makes his way through as well. We're currently running on board with Nicolo Schiro as we see the car in front of him, Diego Menchaca, having a look down the inside, certainly, as we saw him trying to traipse up on Pierre-Louis Chauvet on the outset. Schiro as well gaining himself a little bit of extra track space too, and is right on the tail of Menchaca. It's not over yet before they head down through towards turn 4, and certainly Shiro now identifying an open door around the outside as Menchaca went ultra defensive, heading through Slosh Gold. The door slams shut immediately. Menchaca being forced, but the position might be open. Here comes Shiro, who's going to look to try and tuck into the inside out of turn 4, turn 5, enter towards turn 6. They're going to go side by side through this next segment. Double left-handers abreast now. They go side by side, and certainly Shiro, I think, might have pulled that one off. He has the inside. He's got the line. Shiro has managed to move ahead there of Diego Menchaca, and now has taken 7th place.
Sensational move. We've got this massive gap here behind Marin Angeli. Something happened with Reece Barr on the safety car restart, because there's a good 5 or 6 seconds as that driver changes on, so we've got cars heading into pit lane, but we've got 5 or 6 seconds between Marin Angeli and Timo Rumpfkarl in 13th place, and that's Pavlovic in the gravel trap. So I wonder if that's got anything to do with this as well. Yellow flags are back out at turn 4, as now we've got Chauvet in the pit lane, we've got Marin Angeli in the pit lane, we've got Diego Menchaca in as well. So all action now in the pit lane as teams are deciding to get the change on out of the way as quickly as possible. And I did see Reece Barr making his way back into pit lane, so that car is still running, but he was the sort of bottleneck, which is why we've ended up with this massive 5-second gap, and we've basically got two races happening now after that safety car restart. So we've got Fran Vereda going into the Altitude Racing McLaren as well. And don't forget as well that the 63 Oregon crew, Chauvet and Paul, have to take 20 seconds of success penalty. So this car is going to plummet down the order. And I wonder if they've taken opportunity here. They suspected the safety car might be coming back out again with Pavlovic in the gravel, and dived in as early as possible.
Yeah, expect Charlie Fag to really commit to this stint as well. He'll go right to the end, and Sam Nahan will pick up in the car himself. Obviously their eyes are going to be set on the likes of the motor park cars. Now more of them come straight into the pits now as well. Look like the AF Corsa making its way in. That's of Eddie Cheever. In comes Charlie Fag. Interesting. What's the timer left? 9 minutes and 15. Extraordinary call. I thought he would go the distance.
Yeah, maybe they are suspecting a safety car. Of course, the stint has been shortened a little bit anyway, but in comes the race leader. No additional handicap on this car, so I would expect it still to come out quite comfortably in the lead, whereas the Motorpark and the Oregon cars are likely to plummet down the order. This is the other Motorpark car, the AM entered car. Heiko Neumann getting aboard. Pietro Perolini here, about to hand over to the Dutchman Dan Arrow. Just over half race distance now. It's certainly been an interesting race so far here at the Red Bull Ring. Carol Bash and Chris Farnsworth, and safety car has been deployed. So these cars in the pit lane now are going to take a massive advantage, and that's going to, well, that's going to be disaster for Carol Bash, for Christopher Haase, Lewis Proctor, Nicolo Shiro, Yannick Mettler, Conrad Grunewald, Adam Osaka and Aaron Walker, who have all stayed out.
Yeah, and the problem is here, for those that are obviously above, they can't box now, because of course, while the driver change window is still on, they can't change under the safety car. Those that have already changed that are essentially in the pits, that will obviously be allowed. Out comes Sam Nahan, and he's in front of Marco Polcini, who has stepped in for Eddie Cheever. Alessandro Cosi is there as well. Heiko Neumann as well in the car. My beady eyes are set on Dan Arrow as well, because we know how quick he was yesterday, and he was sensational. Now he has a great chance now that he's going to come up towards the back of the field. Massive opportunity there for Oregon, as well as that of the Optimum Racing team. There's so many teams that could really work off this.
So what this has done, it's put Polcini out in what I think is going to be a net second.
Net P2, yes.
Yeah, but the big mover here is going to be Agostini. Change on will be extended.
Well, they'll have to shut it one day to cover the, obviously, the differential. I'd imagine just to give those drivers that have still yet to come into the cars. So there's quite a lot of them, so they will need to be allowed time to jump into the car. Yes. So, correct call from the race director.
Yeah, but for me, Agostini's the big winner here. He's come out in a net third, by the looks of it, in the Pro AF Corsa Ferrari. That car started in, what, 17th?
Yeah, far down the order.
Suddenly, and
And
we remember, we remember what happened in Hungary between those two cars. It's Agostini at the wheel rather than Nicola Marinangeli. Wow, could be fireworks now.
They've got a great chance here because,
they really do.
You know, Agostini is no slouch behind the wheel either. So, you know, they've got a huge opportunity. And Sam Dahan is going to have to put his best foot forward here. He has got Polcini behind, who is also very capable behind the wheel. So this throws up a very, very interesting dynamic. Like I said, Oregon aren't out of the picture either. I really do think Dan Arrow has a great chance from where he is, because he's right behind Alessandro Cosi. He's really quick. He showed promise yesterday. So I'm just keeping my eyes peeled.
Look at this, the safety car hasn't picked up the leader.
Well, Cipriani is currently in 14th. This safety car could go on for quite some time.
There's the race leader, Carol Bash and Christopher Arce. They're in the middle of the safety car queue. So
they might have to
it's going to take a while to sort this out, I think.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting indeed, folks. We could be under this for a couple of laps, but the tyres now getting warmed up here. So we can now see them getting set to prepare to go racing again. Could be a lengthy period of time, but at the same time they are required to get the heat back into the tyres, because it can dissipate oh so quickly. I just watched the Phil Barron Motorsport car make its way past the commentary box window as well. They, of course, jubilant after their success yesterday, taking the AM win, as Ernst Kirkmeyer brought it home to take their AM victory as well at a place where they debuted a year ago today, and or a year to go yesterday, I suppose, in terms of race one. But yes, witnessing now the cars come up towards turn 3. Giuseppe Cipriani up there as well, 14th place overall, but obviously if you factor in those that have stopped, he's going to move up 8 places off the back of that. So a stellar showing from him, which will certainly place him in P6. Safety car confirmed in this lap as well. So here we go. Things are about to royally kick off here. I don't know where the leader is. Where is Bash?
Yeah, so he's a few cars back. I think it's picked up Alessandro Cosi here, because there is quite a gap between him and the car in front, which is Agostini.
There's Dan Arrow in behind as well, Cipriani in behind them, and in behind Cipriani.
Fran Raider there as well, so change on will be extended by 5 minutes. So when the safety car comes in, there will be another 9 minutes left on the driver change. Some of these drivers are going to end up doing very short stints in the end, but so Alessandro Cosi at the head of the safety car queue, but there are the leaders in Carol Bash and Christopher Haase in terms of the top 2. And so Cosi leading them around the final corner here. And we get going once again at the Red Bull Ring. It will be Dan Arrow trying to get through into the first corner, Fran Raider and Giuseppe Cipriani. So Fran Raider already making a move here. The Motorpark car coming steaming through as well. That's Marcos Seibert trying to get up on the inside. Takes 2 in 1 move there. Runs out wide though, as Dan Arrow's also made up a place on Alessandro Cosi. And look at that now. Was that a bit of the Olive Audi coming off there? It is. There's been contact, because he's got a smoking rear tyre.
He's got a problem.
Here comes Haase trying to get up on the outside as well. Problems for Carol Bash, the race leader and the Pro-Am race leader as well. Haase's gone through and now trying to get around the Mercedes in front of him as well. This is a very chaotic restart that we're seeing here.
Yeah, it certainly is, and we can just see them all filtering out. And Serna Giotto, of course, who was taking the early realms of this race, now under pressure as now the McLaren comes straight through. Of course, Riespar would have subbed out, or he should do eventually, of course, for his stable companion. Let's have a look now at the moment.
Contact with the Steve Jans
gets
Mercedes, yeah. So that might well be off the Mercedes, but Bash has got a smoking rear tyre there, so some bodywork rubbing up against the tyre, perhaps. So that's already 1.1 seconds to the good over Carol Bash, who's still in second overall, but they're in amongst these cars that were caught by the safety car at a particular moment, and try and find out where our some net race leaders are as well, because remember the top 8 haven't stopped yet.
No, absolutely not. Carol Bash seems to have recovered slightly. I can't see that much smoke coming in now. Here comes Christopher Haase, who unfortunately I think is going to be essentially rickrolled after what happened with the safety car, as now we see him coming into the pit. Simon Riker will be stepping in, and the tyres, the boots will no doubt be changed as now the drivers enter their driver change period, as now we see them make their way through towards turn 1, as we can now see Dan Arrow making his way through. Marcos Seibert hot on his heels. We also see Axel Blom, who's now been replaced. Adamo Saker, of course, getting in the mix of everything. There is, of course, Christian Korzanowski, who's also going to be looking to make his way through eventually as well, heading down now in towards Sloshgold, battling all the way through the field now as we see the Ferrari and the Mercedes going side by side. Enter as well the Greystone GT McLaren that goes far too out wide, opens up the door, and through go a stream of cars heading out of turn 4.
Oh, terrible mistake there by Lewis Proctor, who's up into second place overall, and well, he's going to tumble down the order now. He was going to already because of being caught out by the safety car, unfortunately, but you know, the other teams, they anticipated the safety car, they came in while it was still green, and the other cars, they've been caught out.
They certainly have been caught out indeed. So now see them around the final corner. Dan Arrow now looking to commence yet another lap, but he's got Marcos Seibert for company, and Fran Rueda, who's just stepped into the car in place of Andrew Gilbert, as they make their way towards turn 1 now. Great chance here for Seibert to jump ahead of the Oregon team. As we now take a look at the replay, Lewis Proctor just getting in too deep out of Sloshgold, and we saw the Ferrari 296, the Olymp one, also losing a place or two. They lost out to the Oregon as well, as in comes Aaron Walker, and Anthony Bartone will step in his place.
So 3-second time penalty for car number 27, which is the Eddie Cheever Marco Pulcini, of course, the Ferrari, for passing Chauvet off the track, essentially. We've also got an incident between the Adamo Saker Get Speed Mercedes and the Bonaldi Lamborghini, which was the one that was in the gravel that brought out the second safety car. So I've no doubt those two incidents are related.
It's Montemini getting through there on the inside, as well as Alessandro Cosi in at turn 4. So a great move there by the former Benetton test driver back in 1994. And same year, Michael Schumacher would take victory in the Formula 1 World Championship, as now we're seeing the cars billow through the middle sector and down through towards ring corner. Fran Rueda still watching on ahead of him. Marcos Seibert, Dan Arrow taking them through this next segment.
And Riccardo Agostini is ahead of Sam Dahan, which is for the net race lead. So Agostini's up into 5th place. We missed it on the broadcast, but Agostini, I think, now has the net lead.
Well, I'll tell you what, coming ahead there, Sam Dahan certainly does suggest that. Marcos Seibert is also haunting the back of Dan Arrow still. Simon Riker now jumping into 9th place. They come through turn 1 again. The Lamborghini now stretching its legs, trying to filter its way, trying to harness any advantage possible. Agostini now moves up to 4th as we see the pit stops unfilled. Kiki Sagnana in for his stop as well, but still Dan Arrow taking these 3 up towards turn 3 now indeed. Still Seibert asking the big questions, pushing it through now out of Remus corner. Looking to go side by side. Dan Arrow pointed straight at turn 4. Rubbing is racing certainly between the pair of them as they head down towards this next section. Fran Rueda watching it all happen right in front of him here. Dodging to the inside, Marcos Seibert. A stellar move, a big gamble, but he's committed and he's going to make the move outside as well. Fran Rueda watching all this unfold. They rub, they certainly scratch, they claw, heading through towards this next left. Still the Oregon car pursuing the inside line and defending the place. Dan Arrow full defensive, a stellar drive, a stellar defense from the young man.
And all this is outside the points at the moment as well, so we'll see how it shakes out, but this is disastrous for Motorpark, who've just taken the championship lead, who may well have been fallen back because of what happened under the safety car. Another dive up the inside here from Seibert, and Dan Arrow has to go out wide, and now the line into the final corner for the Mercedes once again. Dan Arrow having to take to the escape road and even a little bit of grass, but the Motorpark car seemingly going through now, and Fran Rueda trying to take full opportunity on that as well on the inside of the first corner, but Dan Arrow able to hold him off and going wide there. Now, well, we've already seen what happens when you go wide there and try and pass a car, and Dan Arrow's trying to do the same thing now by the looks of it to get back past the Motorpark car of Marcos Seibert, but Seibert will have the line into turn 3 here and holds on to the place. Fran Rueda trying to get through as well, but Dan Arrow wise to that move.
Yeah, Nicola Rossi stepping in for Nicolo Schiro, who has had a very good first stint. Unfortunately, the safety car, I think, might have upset them slightly as now Dan Arrow comes in towards turn 3. The switch back was successful. I think Seabear was more concerned with Fran Rueda. Seabear, though, fights him back on the inside, heading out of turn 4 and 5. This is absolutely sensational racing between these two young drivers. Through the inside goes Dan Arrow. Once again, the same again from Dan Arrow. He hits his mark right in the centre, takes it through towards turn 4 and 5, 6 and 7, and he still leads that of Marcos Seabear heading out of that section.
This is absolutely a sensational battle, and all over 12th, 13th and 14th at the moment, not where we expected these cars to be as well. We've got 1 in the pits at the moment, 3 yet to stop, so these guys are really fallen down the order. And well, the Motorpark car did have to take 15 seconds of handicap as well. That certainly did not help them. But with Agostini now in third, now this will be Agostini taking the lead, I think, because Karel Bash has entered the pit lane. And he's going to hand over that car to Marcin Jedlinski. Now, of course, he had the Pro-Am lead, but was... of course, not one of the cars who benefited under the safety car, and so I think it will go back to Chiva and Pulcini. But remember, they have a 3-second time penalty to take as well. We've got an absolute gaggle of cars here heading through turn 3, and a confirmation on the timing screen now. Riccardo Agostini leads this race for AF Corsa.
Yeah, and I tell you what, if they take this home, it'll be not only their first podium, but a first win this season. What a dynamic race. What a dramatic race this has been. Seabear muscling off Dan Arrow, heading through towards turn 5 and 6. Coming through Roche Curve now. Verth Curve coming up shortly as well. Fran Rueda's got the best seat in the house. He's watching all this unfold right in front of him. But again, Dan Arrow, that defensive driving coming into centre play and holds on to his position.
Sensational job here as we've got Stuart Proctor getting aboard the Greystone GT. McLaren, very unlucky race for them with that safety car. So we'll see where they come out eventually. As you see there, we have 50 seconds between Stuart Proctor in 6th and Simon Riker in 7th. Although I'm sure that's going to come down. So it's actually a 57-second gap between Pulcini and Riker. So the top 3 are in an absolute race of their own. And then we have a 1-minute gap as well between Muller as well. Oh dear, a spin there for the old Baron Rampante Lamborghini. And a lot of cars having to take avoiding action there, but we've got Giuseppe Cipriani facing the wrong way at the first corner.
Yeah, we certainly have done, and no doubt he's going to have to try and get that restarted. Hopefully we won't be under safety car conditions again, but I think it'll be a straightforward return to track, as now we're seeing Marcos Seabear haunting the back of Dan Arrow yet again. This sequence that we have seen between these 3 drivers, Rueda just waiting for his opportunity, I think, to strike. As they head out of turn 4, you see all the other cars now starting to filter inwards as well. Just another note, as I said before, Agostini, as we now see them make their way through.
This is for the lead.
Yes,
this is for the lead here. Dehaan trying to get around the outside, so they're only separated by a few tenths of a second. Look at the traffic they're going to have to contend with as well, but nothing separating the top 2 at the moment, and they're going to get caught up here behind Christian Korsanowski's Olymp Ferrari.
Yeah, Sam Dehaan, who was 2.3 seconds back only a couple of laps ago. This is what lap cars can do to you. They're holding them back, and now Sam Dehaan has got to try and harness it and use it to his advantage, as now we see Marcin Jedlinski get past Jean-Claude Sada as well for that 5th place. So a stellar showing from him in the 777 Audi, as we see the cars now traipse downwards towards this next right-hander Red Bull Mobile curve. Certainly Sam Dehaan looking to try and rein in that same moment that obviously captured his win heading at Paul Ricard, where of course he took the checkered flag after some despondence at Hungaroring only a race prior to that. They all now circulate through towards turn 1. It's still Agostini on top, chasing their very first podium and first win of the season.
And surely an early success for the Ferrari 296 as well. Will certainly be the first in the international GTOpen.
Marco Pulcini's in this too, and very close and personal, nearly broke into that second gap. So this could very easily become a 3-car scramble.
This is the replay of Cipriani getting it wrong at the first corner. And yeah, surprised he wasn't collected given how many cars were around him at the time.
Very lucky. We just saw there as well Christian Korsanowski going into evasive action there as well. And just look at that, a squeeze between the no love lost between the Lamborghini and the Mercedes. Certainly at this point, they've battled so hard lately. But look at Rueda, who's obviously tried to gamble. I think he might have actually cultivated. No, he didn't. He didn't get into place, but he did try. And credit to him as well. As we now see Marco Polcini starting to pull up in behind Sam de Haan as well. So the battle in amongst the top three in full swing here. Chris, where do you think it's going?
No, I can't answer that. Agostini is still leading de Haan by not very much at all. Still sitting behind Christian Korzeniowski's Olymp Ferrari. Probably taking a look at the amount of traffic he's got to contend with and thinking, I'd rather be on the M25 right now than have to deal with all that. But still in the lead of this race, despite what it may look like in the pictures. The timing screen says otherwise.
I'll tell you one man who's going to be celebrating is Armato Ferrari, because there's two AF Corsa cars in the top three and currently fighting for podiums. We've got also this big fight brewing there further up. We've got the Motorpark car coming under increased scrutiny. There is Riccardo Agostini in that swarm of cars as well, trying to find his way through. Sam de Haan right on the tail as well, looking to try and marshal in some sort of a move in his own right here against the current race leader. He wants the lead back. Will he have the run in towards turn 4? Slosh Gold now lit up with the sound of engines. We've got battles all the way through. In comes Sam de Haan, looking around the outside as he looks to cultivate a potential overtake, but enough in hand on the AF Corsa Ferrari to hold position.
Yeah, just about, and you know, Sam doesn't need to risk anything here. This is a precarious situation that he's in at the moment. Right now, they would retake the championship lead. So with Seibert seemingly not going to score points, although he is only 0.3 of a second behind Dan Arrow for a place in the top 10. So that would put him back in the points and maybe level things out a little bit. But either way, it would once again flip the championship back on its head after that car failed to finish yesterday with an electrical fault that put Motorpark a bit further ahead in the championship. But right now, he just needs to consolidate this position.
Big chance here for Sam de Haan as well for redemption after Hungaroring. Remember, he was in the car that was trying to bring it home to victory on that occasion. And unfortunately, it was not Agostini, as we alluded to earlier on. It was, of course, Marin Angeli behind the wheel at that time. But still, it's all the same. All's fair in love and war as they now make their way up towards turn 3 now. And getting past that of Christian Korzeniowski is that of Agostini. Sam de Haan follows him through as well. So no disruptions there for the man currently sat overall P2 and chasing down Agostini. Polcini, though, I don't think so lucky in that phrase. Still behind that of the Ferrari 296 that's in front of him here as they head now down towards turn 4, but rushes past immediately on entrance to Slosh Gold.
Now we've got a car going through the gravel here, and that's one of the Motorpark Mercedes. Which one was it? Looks like the AM car of Heiko Neumann. I believe he's at the wheel of the car at the moment, but certainly it was the AM Mercedes going through the gravel there. Little hop, skip and a jump, but he's back on course.
Heading down now, 9 minutes still to go here at Red Bull Ring. Intentions are starting to build, it has to be said. Watching these cars now make their way around this circuit, formerly known as the Österreich Ring, formerly known as the A1 Ring, packs a punch, plenty of history, lots has happened, certainly in the history of the International GTOpen. We have seen much of it. Last season it was a story of Oregon team taking victory in both race 1 and race 2. They got the victory again in race 1 yesterday, but it's not going to be such today. But Dan Arrow, without a doubt, has given a good account, nonetheless, giving his utmost. But obviously the safety car causing a complication to the order as we now see them rise up through towards Remus yet again. There's Agostini, still leading Sam de Haan through. They've still got a bunch of cars out in front that they have to try and get themselves past. There's Marco Polcini, who stepped in for Eddie Cheever. Both of them have had a stellar drive today. I mean, what a start for Eddie Cheever as well, Chris.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. I mean, that 3-second penalty is going to come to naught. Speaking of time penalties, car 91, yesterday's AM winner, will have a 5-second penalty because they didn't serve the handicap correctly. That usually is how much you missed it by doubled. So it's usually quite a harsh penalty you have to end up taking there. So we see the leaders coming through here. And yeah, for Polcini and Cheever, the penalty is going to be nothing because they're 54 seconds clear of Riker in 4th place. Oh dear, now that is Dan Arrow in the Oregon Lamborghini that has had a big moment here by the looks of it. Smoking brakes and smoking tyres. Does that look like turn 9, the penultimate corner, the Rint curve?
Looks very familiar.
Perhaps, yeah. Now, how has he ended up there? Was there contact or did he make a mistake? We know he was in a close fight with Marcos Seibert for a place in the top 10. It was contact. So Seibert's got into the back. Oh my goodness me. It's gone on its side and come to a halt. Wow, a much more dramatic moment than we initially thought. But luckily didn't go over on its roof and righted itself very quickly. Now we have multiple yellow flags out at the moment between turns 4 and 8 at the moment. And there's Dan Arrow safely out of the car. Thumbs up from the Dutchman. Good to see he's okay. But now that could well be a 3rd safety car intervention, which would close up the gap, I think, again, between Riker and the top 3. So this race could still well turn on its head again in the remaining 6.5 minutes. And still, we have a nose-to-tail battle here. Here's the moment again. It does look like Seibert gets into the back, either because of changing lines or they didn't anticipate where each other would go. But Dan Arrow, I'm sure that must have been a very scary moment when it went over on its side.
Oh, very nearly a causation of a flip, but managed to self-right itself. It didn't look initially when we saw it, and safety car is confirmed out here with 6 minutes to go. So there we have it, folks. They will have the pace car leading the fray, and as we can see, Agostini still holding on to that advantage, but it will bring the gap between that of Riker and Polcini inwards under these conditions.
Now, well, depending on if they pick up the lead car this time, but we're less than 6 minutes left to go. Depending on how quickly they can get that car moved and the debris cleared, that might well be all she wrote in this race. So, of course, and Riccardo Agostini will be hoping that that is the case.
I'm sure, of course, we're on for a 1-3 here, should it finish like this.
And, of course, the Pro-Am win as well with Polcini and Cheever. 3rd place overall.
Kiki Saknana and Adam Osaka currently with the AM lead as well, which is a fabulous return after the chaos they had to sustain in Paul Ricard.
And this, yes, we have got the leaders picked up by the safety car. So it looks like we're going to pick up the order of things once again. Less than 5 minutes remaining on the clock now, so it's going to need to be a very swift job indeed to get that Oregon Lamborghini cleared. And maybe we can sneak in one last racing lap at the end, but time is not on our side at the moment.
No, 4 minutes and 30 still to go. In general terms, that would probably mean 3 racing laps ahead, maybe even 2, I think, at this stage, but we'll have to wait and see. Naturally, under the safety car conditions, we need to make sure that the drivers stay within Delta and obviously try and get the groups back together. And also, not only that, the marshals need sufficient time in order to clear the debris that's currently on the track, no doubt. I mean, going back to that instant, it looked like the car just basically pivoted itself or spun. It just simply self-righted. But no, it's still on the track. There it is, heading through the latter stages of the lap through Rint Corner. And still remain stagnant.
Well, what this might do as well is cause a bit of trouble for the Pro-Am leading, of course, the Ferrari, because they do have that 3-second penalty to take after the race as well. And of course, if this ended under the safety car, they would plummet down the order. And no doubt they'll get into a few scrapes once the, if we go green again as well.
Yeah, they make their way down towards turn 1. Big points here for Agostini and that of Nicola Marinangeli. Of course, historically, finishing at this point, they haven't had their first podium just yet, so this will be one that they will surely cherish. Their best result of the season being P5 that they put on the board in Portimao. They did exactly the same then at Spa-Francorchamps for the endurance race, and did it exactly the same in race 2 at Hungaroring, as well as Paul Ricard in race 1. So an incredible 4 times they've finished 5th this season, but this time around they get to taste victory.
So potentially a big moment here for Agostini and Marinangeli. Marinangeli, of course, one who's made the recent switch from single-seater racing over to GTs. This is really his first proper GT campaign, having done single-seaters up until this point. It was Formula Renault Europe in 2020, Formula Regional as well for a couple of years. Did a bit of Euroformula Open as well last year as well, and now making the switch to GTs. That 19-year-old Italian deciding to take his career in a different direction. Of course, Agostini similarly made the switch, but a few years ago now, made that switch in 2015, and has been a consistent face in the world of Super Trofeo and Italian GT as well since then. Now, what is being discussed there in the Optimum garage? I'd love to be a fly on the wall there right now. See, what are we going to tell Sam about how to take the end of this race? And this does not look like it's going to be a speedy recovery. Less than 2 minutes left on the clock, and unsurprisingly, that incident between that stricken Oregon car and the Motorpark Mercedes is under investigation. A pretty dramatic and, dare I say, disastrous day for our new championship leaders.
Yeah, tough day at the office, that's for sure. And obviously, given the fact that we have seen Sam de Haan, obviously now he's going to take the car through yet on another lap behind the safety car. You'd imagine we will finish under these conditions, but big points on the table here for them. 12 points for a P2 here in this championship, which will elevate them higher and bring that championship fight back to close proximity again.
Well, we'll be exactly where we were when we came to Spielberg at the start of the weekend, with de Haan and Fag leading by a point.
It's almost poetic, isn't it? So there we go. We get to...
Race will end behind the safety car. That means, so unless there's any mechanical failures, Riccardo Agostini and Nicolo Marinangeli will take their first win and a maiden victory in the GTOpen for the Ferrari 296. We've got this final lap behind the safety car to contend with. Sam de Haan and Charlie Fag will take back the championship lead as well with a second place finish.
Yeah, another podium going to them as well. It's incidentally only the second time they'll finish second in a GTOpen race this season. Of course, the last time they finished that second was back at Portimao in race 1. And they get to repeat the feat this time around. And I'm sure Sam de Haan will be delighted, because this is a true contribution to their championship charge. Optimum, of course, went so close to taking the championship in GTOpen last season, of course being denied by Oregon's Leonardo Polcini and Benjamin Hites, but they have a chance to rewrite the wrong and take a championship of their own. But still, we have another 2 rounds after this one to decide that very factor. Monza is next on the list. The Temple of Speed, a fast track, a flat surface as well, not necessarily the elevation changes that you see here at Austria. So it's all going to be down to pure pace. A home race as well, essentially, for AF Corsa, who, of course, will be representing the Scuderia Ferrari outfit here with the same badge in its own right.
Of course, the message has come up on the timing screen. Take the checkered flag without overtaking. That is a very strict rule that's been put in there. So this is going to pretty much screw over Polcini and Chiva, because, well, actually, there might be enough cars between Polcini and Jedlinski is really the one to worry out for in the Pro-Am, but they might just actually hang on to it because there are a number of cars between them. But meanwhile, AF Corsa Ferrari, maybe not in the circumstances they would have expected to see it, but Riccardo Agostini and Nicolo Marinangeli are race winners in the International GTOpen. It's a maiden victory for the Ferrari 296 in the series. Optimum Motorsport in second place retakes the championship lead, and Marco Polcini, I think, will get over the line and hang on to not only an overall podium, but the Pro-Am lead alongside Eddie Chiva.
Fantastic, certainly, to see the more celebrating right now. A stellar performance by those. And I think, as well, out of all this, this is a first AF Corsa victory this season.
Yep.
Which is a truly special occasion for them. You can see them cheering and celebrating in the pit lane, and with every reason as well. Certainly Agostini bringing it home, did the job that was necessary, and I'm sure Nicolo Marinangeli will be delighted as well. This is his first win here in the GT Open and his first win as a GT3 driver.
Sensational. And yeah, for Marin Angeli, that's a big moment, making the switch over to GTs, and now a race winner. Of course, had a fair bit of success when he was in single-seaters, was sort of here, there, and everywhere last year, really. But he's found a home here at the GT Open, and now he can call himself a race winner. Yeah, I definitely do think Polcini's hung on to that overall podium, because there are quite a few cars between him and Riker that ended up meaning there was about 3 seconds between them. So that penalty hasn't come to an effect at all, really. But here are the results from race number 2 in round 5 of the International GT Open from the Red Bull Ring. Marin Angeli and Agostini are race winners. Dehaan and Fag retake the championship lead. Polcini and Chiva with the Pro-Am lead. Riker and Haas just missing out on the overall podium in the end. Marcin Jendliski and Karol Bash in 5th, ahead of Nicolo Rossi and Nicolo Schiro. Anthony Bartone and Aaron Walker 7th for GetSpeed. Dexter Muller and Yannick Medler, sorry, in 8th place. Kiki Saknana and Adam Osaka in 9th, and then Fran Reda and Andy Gilbert completing the top 10, but missing out on points. Team Motor Park, Seabear and Menchaca, their championship lead is short-lived, and Maximilian Paul and Pierre-Louis Chauvet only 17th in the end. As Giuseppe Cipriani ended up a lap down there. And then 4 retirements was Dan Arrow, Conrad Grunwald and John Koltsada, Milos Pavlovic and Jahid Faisal Karim didn't make the flag in the end. This was done to the championship. We're back where we started. 1 point separates Fag Dehaan from Seabear and Menchaca, but Haase and Riker have really closed up now. 18 points now, it's just the gap between them, but unfortunately Chauvet and Maximilian Paul couldn't close in on that as well. Here is Riccardo Agostini getting out of that number 51 AF Corsa Ferrari 296 as a race winner in GT Open.
Yeah, stellar results as well, and Riccardo Agostini has every right to celebrate, as do his team. There we see the response, and no doubt it'll be one that they can hold on to, one they can build on. Obviously, it was a very emphatic race. Another Cinderella story as well. Obviously, we saw Kiki Saknana and Adam Osaka take a first-time win of the season. They've done it all now. They've got a P3, a P2, and they've got a P1. Third podium of the season in AM category. So credit to them.
Nice after having to rebuild the car after that shunt in the Castellet on the opening lap as well, back in race number 1. But wow, sensational stuff for AF Corsa. Italian team with 2 Italian drivers as well, so it's going to be quite passionate celebrations, I'd have thought, tonight. Sam Dehaan, he can be very happy with that. He's got the championship lead back. It was a super close fight with Agostini as well, but Optimum have done what they needed to do today, and that's get back into the championship fight.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a perfect timed win, I think, for Riccardo Agostini and Nicola Marin Angeli. Of course, as we said, off to Monza for the next round, and this will give them the perfect foundation to perhaps go on and do big things when we go to the Temple of Speed. And we all know how much a Ferrari win is obviously celebrated in their home country of Italy, and no less Monza as well. And the Tifosi, I'm sure, will be electrifying. But take us through the top 3.
Yep, so the top 3 is Marco Polcini and Eddie Chiva. Third in Pro would have been this East Allen Audi. Second place and retaking the championship lead, Sam Dehaan and Charlie Fag in the number 69 Optimum Motorsport McLaren 720S. But for the first time, it's race victory for Riccardo Agostini and Nicola Marin Angeli at AF Corsa Ferrari, and they are downstairs with Alfredo.
We have a new pair winning in the International GT Open. Riccardo Agostini is not a new winner, but Nicola Marin Angeli is. Quite a lively race, huh, Riccardo?
Yeah, well, I'm a new winner this season. We've been always very close to the podium all over the season, and I think today we just put together everything made from the first race until now. And Nicola did a very great first stint, recovering some positions, and after the pit window, I just yeah, I was a little bit lucky due to the safety car, but then I was able to overtake the top 2 drivers, and yeah, we ended first, which is a great victory for us. It's a bunch of you know, power for the upcoming events.
And Nicola, it was easy in the second stint. All the mess was behind.
No, it was not easy, to be honest. It was not unexpected because we started really backward. So we tried to fight since the first lap, and yeah, the car felt mega since the beginning. So big thanks to AF course for the car and for the great job all over the weekend.
Well done, guys. Podium now.
Podium now, indeed. Well, that one was dramatic. Let's relive the action. All the way back 60 minutes ago, it was Charlie Fagg who led them away from pole position with Pierre-Louis Chauvet challenging on the outside and Lewis Proctor in third. And Rhys Barr was trying to get around that McLaren and ended up doing a really good job of doing so. But it was Eddie Cheever, the man on the move in that stage, got himself up into third place and ended up challenging Chauvet for second, while Charlie Fagg built up a nice healthy margin. This was that battle for second place that also included the Pro-Am lead battle as well. Eddie Cheever getting right round the outside, Carol Bash following him through and making sure he stayed on the back of the class leader as well. Chauvet ended up finding himself going backwards quite quickly. First of all, with Christopher Haase finding his way through, and then Lewis Proctor not too far behind him as well. We saw this spin for Jahid Faisal Karim in the 3R Aston Martin. He ground to a halt on the start-finish straight. That brought out a safety car and impacted pretty much the entirety of the race because it allowed a fair few drivers to lose less time under the safety car because they were already in the pits. And this is what brought the race to a bit of a premature end. Dan Arrow getting into the barriers and up on his side after contact with Marcos Seibert. Couldn't clear that car in time, and we ended under the safety car with victory for Riccardo Agostini and Nicola Marinangeli for the first time in the International GTOpen. A sensational moment for the AF Corsa pairing, the two Italians who have had their ups and downs this season. Of course, came within just a few tenths of victory at the Hungaro ring, but they've managed to do it this time around and now will be on the podium. So actually just on that number 27 pairing there in terms of the Pro-Am battle. The drama's not over yet because that car is under investigation. It didn't say what for, but we'll see what happens there. For now, they are third overall and the Pro-Am winners, Sam Dehan and Charlie Fagg, up on the second step of the podium. AF Corsa on the top step with Marinangeli and Agostini. And we will hear the Italian national anthem. Sensational moment for AF Corsa, of course, team that is seen up and down the GT world and now in prototype racing as well. They are so synonymous with the Ferrari brand at this point. And a great team to have in the International GT Open. It maintains the exceptionally high standards that we're used to seeing in this championship.
This year has obviously been a very hard-fought one already. We've seen many, fantastic performances, and obviously I think Optimum can hold their heads high, especially after fighting back after the heartbreak from yesterday. And credit to Charlie Fagg and Sam Dehan on bringing the car home in second, taking the championship lead back again to basically where we were at the end of last round. But a Ferrari victory certainly will mean a lot, you can imagine, and I'm sure Amato Ferrari would be delighted to see his team 1 and 3 overall, and also a victor in the Pro-Am fight as well. Obviously Eddie Cheever and that of Marco Polcini delivering the big results where required. Champagne celebrations again, and Charlie Fagg It's giving them a soaking as well.
This time they actually do bother with the champagne. Oh,
that's typical Sander hand behaviour, that is, right there. Poor Charlie Fagg.
Of course the boys are at it as well.
Yeah. Well, they don't have to wear the overalls now for the rest of the weekend.
No, they get to throw them in the washing machine after today, don't they? So, of course, for Polcini and Chiva, they'll stay up there now because we've got the Pro-Am podium coming up. But this time they'll take an extra step into the middle as the Pro-Am winners. It'll be Marcin Jedlinski and Karol Bash joining them in second, and the two Nicos, Nicolo Rossi and Nicolo Shiro,
back again
for the second time. The second yesterday and third today, and of course the Jedlinski and Bash were winners in Pro-Am yesterday. That's second for them. Penny for the thoughts of Dexter Muller and Yannick Mettler, just missed out on the podium in fourth place.
Marcin Jedlinski and Karol Bash also charging their way up towards P2 on the podium. But Eddie Chiva and Marco Polcini, who we saw take third overall. And Marcin Jedlinski got a little lost there, made his way up to the top step of the podium. But there we have it, there we are. It's a Ferrari top step yet again, overall and in Pro-Am. Trophies going to Rossi and Shiro again for the second time this weekend. A stellar weekend for them, and they seem to be in rude form right now. Their previous podium, aside from the ones they've captured this weekend, was actually back at Spa in the endurance round,
yes,
where they went to take P3. Since then, they've done P4 twice in a row at Hungaroring and Paul Ricard. But very successful run this time.
Well, talking of fine form, of course, Chiva and Polcini are the championship leaders. Going into this weekend, they had a 13-point advantage, so more than a race win's worth in terms of Pro-Am points over Yannick Mettler and Dexter Muller going into this weekend. And, well, that has certainly been extended. They're practically putting one hand on the championship trophy already, but I didn't speak too soon on their behalf.
Well, we saw last year, funny enough, in the Pro-Am fight as well, when Karol Bash, Marcin Jedlinski had a brake failure at Monza, which threw the Pro-Am championship into jeopardy. This time, though, obviously with Marco Polcini and Eddie Chiva in a very comfortable position. As you say, one hand on the championship, Monza could be decisive in that scrap. So
certainly could be.
Yeah, so we'll have to sit tight on that one, folks. The AM podium up next, and on the right-hand side, you can see a beaming Kiki Saknana and Adam Osaka. What a partnership these two make.
Is he never beaming?
He's always beaming, and he's a drift star as well. He's all sorts. He is absolutely sensational. One of the most high-spirited members of the paddock you'll ever meet. And Adam Osaka as well is also exactly the same and embodies the very same nature that Kiki does.
Yeah, the Getspeed team boss, of course, there. So good weekend for them. I have to check how they got on the Nürburgring 12-hour as well. It might be a very good day for the Getspeed team. But okay.
Great to see Andrea Montemini back on the podium as well, because remember, they had the issue yesterday which enforced the DNF in race 1. They've taken a podium this weekend. A big cheer as well again for Ferrari. 2 cars on the AM podium here this time around, and Mercedes leads the charge, but nevertheless Sergio Giotto and Alessandro Cosi will be delighted with the second. Kiki Saknana and Adam Osaka, your victors here in the AM category.
Yes, and if I remember rightly, that is the first time this season. In fact, it is. So they've come close. They've had a couple of second places so far this year, but this will be their first time on the top step of the AM podium. And of course, we are missing our championship leaders, Timo Rumpkau and Heiko Neumann. But for in fact, we're missing the top 2 in the championship as well. I think this is a very unique AM podium we're seeing here.
Very unique. You know, we're not seeing necessarily Jean-Claude Sadro, Conrad Grunwald, Giuseppe Cipriani, or even Philip Barron or Kirkmeyer, who won yesterday, to be honest. But that's it.
Yes, that is all from the Red Bull Ring. A very dramatic weekend concludes here. The International GTOpen is back at the Temple of Speed at Monza in 2 weeks' time. We'll see you on the 23rd of September.